Welcome to the Hello FirstName podcast. The Hello FirstName podcast revolves around the term personalization and is brought to you by marketing author Rasmus Holy, founder of Omnichannel Institute and Chief Experience Officer at the marketing automation software company EDDI. The podcast is based on the book Hello FirstName. Each episode is based in turn on a chapter from the book, followed by a discussion of the very same chapter with an expert marketing practitioner in the following episode. As always, you can buy the book on Amazon or other bookstores. You can also choose to listen to it all for free on your favorite podcast service. You're also very welcome to download the abstract of the book for free, and all models, of course, are able to download. All downloads are sponsored by EDDI. I'll make sure to put a link to everything in the show notes. But you can always connect on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to reply and help out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Hello FirstName podcast. Today we are going to be discussing chapter 19 from the book Hello FirstName. Chapter is called People and Skills for Personalization, and it's one of the chapters that I'm actually most proud of, and one of the chapters that I had the most fun doing, and that is definitely one of the best chapters for discussing. So I needed to find someone who was clever enough and experienced enough to actually have a good conversation with me on this, so we could all learn something. And so I'm very happy to welcome you, Christian Peter.
Hi, Rasmus.
Good to see you here on the show.
Happy to be
Christian,
here.
you have you're German, and that's people can probably hear that in your English, as you can hear that I'm from Denmark. But you have vast experience within CX from the financial sector, and also you've been working at CommerzBank for some time, and you even have like the award statuettes to prove that you've been doing really good stuff. I think it was an EDDI Award last year when we met in Frankfurt from the Deutsches Dialog German Dialog Marketing Association last year. So congrats on that. You're also an author at Solona.com. You've written the book It Depends on the Ants. I've personally read it and enjoyed it very much, and I can also see actually that it's been it's made it to the top of several recommendation lists. So again, congrats on that. Here you are in your role as an author and expert. In your words, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your career?
Yeah, thank you very much for the possibility to be here and to discuss this really interesting chapter of your great book about personalization. Yes, sure, I can do. I'm, from my perspective, always a banking guy, but always where it's possible to move people with the help of IT. That is the issue what is fascinating me. It doesn't matter if it's employees or sales teams or if it is about customers. IT gives us so many possibilities to bring people in move and to find good solutions and to have an impact of the company. So it was always on my interest to optimize this and to use IT as best as possible for get a real good impact for organizations.
Yeah, I think when I was studied, we say that humans create technology, but technology also affects humans. So it really goes both ways. And I do agree with you. The intersection there is super, super interesting. How's your position and your interests, changed over the years? Have you become more marketing, more IT, more? How is that?
I think it's a combination of these three, and you cannot see it as like a silo or something like this. In your book, I have read you mentioned the triangle out of people, organization, and technique, and everything must fit together. And when you start with one business need you have to solve, I think after some months you will see, it's not about only the technical solution or the business plan. It's about how to engage people and how to motivate people and how to get a solution who will have a real great impact on your company. And so my interests were shifting from the quite concrete issue of one product solving, but let's say to a bit more philosophical way. What is the issue? What is the attitude you should have to start with a project and to get to real impactful results?
Yeah, it's not necessarily easy. I mean, technology is technology, but what's the point of having a Formula One car if you don't have the team to operate it and to fix it and to change the tires? And if you not make them do it, you're going nowhere.
And sometimes probably you will see in your customers too. There are companies they buy a Formula One car, but they don't need to And then with a more fitting car, it would have a great result. But because you have now a Formula One car, no one can steer it. The goal is you will never reach what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really the intersection here between people and technology. I think we can
absolutely
agree to that. This is exactly why I also am so happy to have you here on the show today, because you've been working with this for so many years and you have success in doing it, not the least, which is not a given, actually. I mean, a fair share of IT projects go directly into the bin, but you actually have the statutes to prove that this is coming out with positive results. Also, dwelling a bit on your role as an author, what drove you towards actually writing a book? Because I know it's a painful process. So what drove you to actually write a book?
Yeah. Well, on the one side, you can say it's a painful process, but on the other side, it makes it great fun, because you can put all your knowledge and your experience in one book. And the process of writing was my book. I've structured it in 42 chapters about successful digitization projects, and I wanted to have a quite concrete, very near to practice best of ideas and useful hints what you can use directly into praxis. And so it was a process. I'm on many conferences or exchange, not only in one industry and not only in one country or area. It's about being quite open-minded. So when we talk about don't use silos in one company, I have the same opinion about our role when we want to change things. And when I get in contact with people, with leaders, with thought leaders, with responsible persons, I get the need for, well, how do we get the right people? What is the right way? It's not about which software I should buy. Shall I solution provider A or B? It is always a question, how can I get real full impact? And that is the reason why I structured it about the right goals, the right attitude to get the right people and the right partners together for best solutions.
So speaking of people, who are the ideal readers of the book, or the ones who buy the book or read it? Maybe they buy it for someone else. That could also be the case. But who are sort of the ideal customers of the book?
As the ideal customers, I think there's three groups about. The one is management who wants to get more clever questions to their staff, realizing projects in the company. And the second one is people who are responsible for projects, and they want to have special hints without any hidden interest. When you ask some providers or consultants, there's always an agenda they are following too, and that is not the case in the book. And the third group is people like consultants, for example. They want to look how does a customer is thinking in his ideal way, and probably they can help with a hint of the book. And the fourth, it's underlining. Often it is used in conferences for gift art to the salespeople or to the visitors there to prolong, to make the impact of one event a bit more longer, and to give some concrete tips. You can take it away, and it's not the fifth liner you get with you. That are the groups I know, and the other buyers on Amazon or something like this, they don't know why or what's the use case of using.
Yeah. And as I understand it, the book is based on your experience from throughout the years and your work at several financial institutions, but also all the networks and the talks you go to and the people that you've interacted with over the years. It's really the essence of a work life, a career that is long and successful within this.
I could not have mentioned it better than you did now in this word. Yes, it's absolutely. It's about all the knowledge collected over the years.
And talking about CommerzBank, maybe actually explain to the listeners which kind of bank is CommerzBank. Probably not everybody will know the bank.
Yeah, okay. Well, I have two roles, as you mentioned at the beginning. At first part, I'm head of marketing automation in CommerzBank. It's the second biggest bank in Germany, and therefore we do analytical CRM, and with some 100 branches and a omni-channel infrastructure. And on the other side, I'm as an author for the book of. It depends on the end, as you mentioned. Yes. In our entry, and when I am on stage or when I am on conferences, I'm for the one role there or at the other role. And today I'm here in the role of as an author of the book.
Yeah. And how much of the book? I mean, I think the experience that you have from CommerzBank is obviously super interesting for a lot of people who are looking to, because I know it can be quite difficult to drive change, especially within a financial institution, because it has a tendency. Often financial institutions are pretty heavy, and it can be for some very bureaucratic. There can be this. Some will say that but it's been really because of compliance reasons and because of security. So people are quite afraid of doing anything that is stepping over the lines, or that is insecure, that is inappropriate, or so. So it's a heavily regulated industry, I would say, which normally means that you don't get to push it very far unless you really, really push it. So how much of the knowledge in the book, or the things in the book, are coming from CommerzBank? How visible is CommerzBank in the book?
The CommerzBank is not at all visible in the book, and I will explain you why. Probably it is. It sounds a bit surprising, because we have started about the solution, software solution, and said, oh well, you cannot say it's A better than B. And the same is when you have an ideal solution, like it is imprinted in the book and described in the book. The solution must always fit to the company where you use it. And so a solution which will fit for CommerzBank will not fit for a Brazilian bank and for a bank in Norway, for example. And therefore, it makes no sense to transport things like, oh, exactly how it's done on one bank, we should transfer it to another. And that's the reason why in the book there's no reference at all to CommerzBank cases there, because that's the ideal way, and 42 concrete tips. What you will use for your company then depends absolutely on the situation you will find there, and what are your needs in this company, and therefore it's absolutely separated. And you can choose out of your situation where your needs are.
Yeah, so it does depend on the ends, I guess, with a D, not a T, not to forget. So beautiful, yeah. I think we share a thing there, because I was also. I mean, you never get everything right from the get-go, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't prevent you from doing some sort of recipe of how you would have approached the project if you were to do it again, which is really what I think is helpful also in the way that you've done the book. The title there, it depends on the ends. What is that about? Why do you choose this title?
When you are talking with other people in companies, you often hear, oh, let's do it like the way A, or let's do it like the way B. And that's only, that's too easy, because I'm convinced in the ideal way you combine the strengths of two opposites. Yeah. And when you combine these, you create real new value, which never have been possible with only one of these both. And for example, a short information about the Museum of Modern and Contemporary African Art in Kapstadt. They have built a museum in a very old fabric hall where silos out of big walls were standing, and they decided not to destroy the old building and to build a new building. They decided to saw a new space by opening silos. And when you look from the bottom up now, you see a new room, which is so aesthetic and is so overwhelming when you're standing there. So you get an impression which never have been possible when you destroy the old one and you take the new one. And then now it is really outstanding, groundbreaking technology, groundbreaking ideas they have had. And that is the reason, that is a good example for let's combine these two things, take the strengths of two things, and you will get it. Depends on the ends. You get something which is at the end more successful than if you will do only the left part or the right part.
Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful image. I must definitely check that out when I go kite surfing in Cape Town, which I plan to do someday. I will definitely check out the museum, because I think the idea of not tearing down the silos, but accepting them, and that's how the past is, and it's there for a reason. And then instead, making it into one room where you can still see sort of where the silos were, but you get the opportunities of creating together across the silos. I think that's a beautiful image of also what needs to be done in order to work with customer centricity. Yeah. So in finance, how big is personalization in finance these days?
No, personalization is for finance so important, and finance has, due to its regulation, a very good chance to, because the data structure is quite well good. You have direct contact to your customer. The database is regulated, and you have many touch points by only checking balances or something like this. Other industries would love to have this amount of. Let's compare to insurance, for example. It's nearly only 2 products you can't grab on. But on the other side, nearly no touch point, and you have to generate touch points in insurance industry. Yeah. On the other hand, in telco, you need it, or you use it very often, but you don't see it as a touch point to your telecom provider. You would not think so. It's so daily business that you take your phone for do a phone call or for do surfing, and when you have this good database and you have this vast amount of touch points, it is a really great chance to make a good job in personalization, because personalization is not only to print on the name on letter or on email, but I think exactly. I don't have to tell you this, because out of your experience with this book here, you have really done a great job by doing it in such this structured way as you describe personalization.
I wanted to let people know that there's more to it than just doing the first name, because I mean, you'll bump into some CEO who's like, yeah, well, personalization, we did that many years ago. We do Hello FirstName all the time. It's like, I could imagine, something even crazier than that. That's sort of the joke that the title is based on.
Absolutely.
So has it changed? Is personalization within finance so like more in fashion, so to speak, at the moment? Is it trending now, or how was it trending 10 years ago? Is there a development within that?
Yeah, I think that the trending is by all in finance industry, we see a reducement of branch network and a shift to more to digital channels. And so the personal attitude you are receiving in a branch has to be transported to digital channels, because if you only transport a function but not the empathy, you will lose customer contact and as a customer love to your brand. And therefore, I think it's very important to do their good and a great job to keep customers staying with you, because they are feeling, yes, they are very well known, nevertheless, where they are deciding to do the next touch point.
Yeah. I think, so it's so here it's coming on strong. So with the digitalization, wanting to still create that level of intimacy, that is something that you could potentially do with personalization. It's probably the best choice to actually scale those feelings of being personable. How do you see it with you probably also already answered that, how you see it with other industries? Is finance ahead of other industries or behind? Or
I think from the possibilities, they are behind out of this triangle out of data issues and personalization. But I just mentioned till now only finance, telco, and insurance. Let us move probably for the tourism industry. When you on cruising ships, for example, is there you create an overwhelming holiday for a family or for a couple, and you have clear, quite good data. And when you don't handle these data careful, you will destroy the holiday of this couple. And when you arrange it very well and you dot the touch points like a red line, and you give structure to a big ship where anyone is nearly probably lost in without any help, you can give so much help. And so I compared always with, you have your travel agency or your company in your pocket with you, and this chance should be used by anyone who has real contact to his customers.
So at least it is very trending. I see. I often ask this question to people within different industries. So, how big is personalization? Everybody seems to agree that this is. So I guess I was lucky with writing a book.
And did you get sometimes the answer? No, it is not. In our industry, it's not so important.
I have yet to maybe that's my own little echo chamber where that's happening. But again, I think within marketing, we've seen some pretty hard evidence that this is a top trend. So in my last week, I had Franz Riemersma, who's also my co-author. They've been scraping websites, like technology vendor websites, to see which buzzwords are, for instance, most used. And personalization is by far the one that is most used. So,
but I think, Rasmus, let me give one point in addition to it. When you talk with marketeers, everyone will say yes, personalization is at the top of and quite important. And so when we compare the industries, probably the rest in these companies, not marketing, is in some industries nearby personalization, and in other industries more far away from personalization. So probably the job of marketeers is more difficult in companies where it is a broader opinion range in one company.
So that kind of leads me on to the next question, which is more directly related to finance. So so I know that for some of the banks that I've been working with, their marketing department is mostly occupied with getting new customers in the door, or new clients in the door. So it's very much about promoting the bank, it's the branding, and getting them to sign up for the first meeting or to open an account. And then it's actually pretty much in the hands of the rest of the customer journey. And no one doesn't have a bank, so then the rest of the customer journey actually doesn't belong to marketing or what, but that is actually that's also where you want to personalize. Can you talk a bit about how is the customer experience and the ownership of the customer journey? How is that anchored within within CommerzBank or within the organizations that you work with?
I beg your pardon that I will not give a concrete insight in the CommerzBank organization structure. So I will answer this in a more general way, how it should be, because when you see it like a type of production, there's coming a new customer and then he is created. And then he is sometimes your customer, and then you have the risk that he is dropping off the table. And there is more action. Out of this, you see there are three types of regaining, intensifying, and care people and care customers that they won't leave. But that's too simple, because the customer is not thinking in these categories. They are not thinking about, oh, I'm now customer, now they can, everything is fine. Oh, today I start with my first thought about leaving this bank, what I have. So it should and I would recommend all industries to do every customer connection in one hand, which should oversee all activities which are getting to one customer. And I see many of these communities like CX communities in our regions, which are taking care about it, and which are not stopped like one process, like onboarding process is ready or offboarding process is ready. It is like the whole relationship, which must be covered by one framework, and by one responsibility, who is thinking like the customer does. And when you have this, it's more easy to allocate budgets, IT investigations, resources, and these things, because you have it from your general responsibility.
But that's not where most organizations have started. So they've started building silos in another way. So not around the customer, but around a specific part of the value chain, perhaps. So those departments suddenly, when they need to refocus on the customer, that's where you go in and you need to break the silos down, but connect them.
For example, when we're looking at many industries, they have nowadays with digital marketing and digital sales, in the historical way, the most are coming from the e-commerce part. Because when the physical shops have started in long time ago to build the e-shops, then the digital was the first part there, and out of this part it's coming to do it in a more personalized way, because the data structure was there even clearer than before. But it should not be divided in this place. But why do I tell this? Because I think that there is always a reason why the silos are standing like they are now. When you look at one company, you see, this silo is standing there because of, and here two silos are working very close and good together because of. There is nearly always a historical explanation why the silo structure is like it is today.
Yes.
And probably I would say, have a look on it, because probably it gives you a good hint what to do next to get a better customer experience.
So going back to the question, so there's a customer experience department in most banks that have the responsibility from the first sign up until clients change their banks away.
That is my recommendation, because I repeat it, the customer does not think about, today I'm on my onboarding process. Now I'm ready. Let's have a look who takes care about me now.
Said no client ever.
The worst example about this personalization, when you're thinking in silos, when you have an airplane or train who has a big delay, they say you're in the plane, and when you are touched down, go to our service counter. They will help you. You do it, and nobody knows there that you're coming, what flight you have, which was a problem, where you want to go. That is a really good example where the customer drops in a hole between, and there's no information flow. And that is a example how you should not do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hate repeating stuff to brands that they should already know about.
Absolutely.
That's one of the most annoying parts of non-personalization. So it's creating a lot of friction.
And especially when you see in this case I mentioned now, it was a mistake of the transporting company. So they should take intensive care and now do a good personalization job. It cares double twice.
Exactly. Yeah. I actually had an interview with Mike Anderson from Telium, the customer data platform, one of their founders, and he mentioned this example where he said, when the customer is changing from one channel to the other, make that change as seamless and as frictionless as possible. I mean, carry over the data and the insights so you don't need to ask questions that you should know the answer for already.
Absolutely.
But it's just in another department. That's so annoying. So talking about channels, and also the bow tie of personalization is very much about how you match the insights with the content, but obviously you need to distribute the content somehow, or there's, no content in front of a customer, then there's no personalization. So we distinguish between like the inbound channels. So if people are going to a website, or that could be your mobile bank also, or your app, those would be inbound channels. I think when people are calling in, you'd count that as an inbound channel as well. That as opposed to emails and text messages and notifications and direct mails and so on. Within finance in general, is personalization mostly taking place in the inbound channels or the outbound channels? Or how do you see that mix?
Well, I think it's coming from historical way for the outbound part. And for the inbound part, in all industries like insurance, telco, banking, let us name these three together, it is naturally when you enter your login or something like this, you will see your personalized info, personalized data.
Exactly, yeah.
But so the impression is the inbound is personalized, but it's not personalized from a sales perspective. It's only by distribution or banking process or insurance process that you see what are your tickets which are open in your insurance company.
Exactly. So, what are my lines on my bank account?
I think in the inbound part there is the most chance to get added value for the customer, which is not used till now. Added would be possible.
And the outbound channels, that's which are most in use in finance.
It depends on industry. For example, SMS in Germany is not well known. In other countries, it is absolutely a real heavy stack in the marketing engine to deliver messages with SMS to our customers. Or for example, in Japan, that's absolutely uncommon to do sales offers in the digital banking area. All sales are done, nearly all sales, the most part are done and started in the branch network.
So obviously the channels will change depending on the country.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why I recommend to have a quite open mind to look in all countries and in all industries. You will always get a quite interesting impression of why it is like it is and what you can do for your company next.
My impression is in Denmark here that some of the banks, especially the incumbents, the old traditional banks, they are more, I wouldn't say afraid, but they're being more, they're holding back on, for instance, sending too many emails, because in general there's a fear that because people are sending phishing mails from the banks. They're pretending to be the banks. So it's somehow easier for some of the banks, that's what they believe is, to never send emails to customers. Because in that way, if you get an email from this particular bank, it will always be phishing, because they don't send emails to clients, period. Unless it's directly from a bank account, or from the account owner, or your advisor or something. Like they have like a special system within the net bank. So you may get a notification that there is an email or a message for it, but you then need to log in to see it. So which is kind of nice for security reasons, but also a bit annoying that I don't get to see what's on the mind of my advisor before I go through a login process that isn't always super smooth.
I think it depends on what the customers use at his company, where he or she is really customer. In your book, you mentioned the example of the Royal Danish Theatre, and if they shall use the app for outbound messages or for sales. And I think when you have received 3 times an email or a personalized offer from the Danish Theatre, oh yes, they are doing it. Yes, that's okay. And if it's relevant, that's okay. So I think it's the same at banks. When you get it from the first time, hoopala, you are a bit surprised. But when it's common, you say, okay, they do it. So the level is quite important to have it as a relevant message, but it's the same in all industries too.
Yeah. All right, let's go a bit deeper into the to the topic of today. So we're discussing the chapter called People and Skills in Personalization. It's one of the chapters from part 4, which is called Organizational Maturity for Personalization. So first of all, I'm going to ask you, Christian, how do you see the difference between the importance of tech and the importance of people when trying to create a personalized customer journey? We touched briefly upon this, but what matters the most, the tech or the people?
I would say the people, because the technology gives you so much possibilities. If you don't have the people with the right attitude, the right knowledge, and the right skills, you will never use the tech as it's possible to use. And you can make mistakes by using the technology too heavy, too less, not clever enough. So my answer is people.
Yeah. I don't disagree. Obviously, you can have a tech that's better or poor or whatever, but it doesn't matter if you have the wrong people.
And I remember to the Formula 1 car we have mentioned in the beginning of our call.
Exactly. It may be the fastest car in the world, but if you don't have the team to drive it, you're going nowhere. So talking about marketing and customer communication in general, we're talking a lot about technology, but so I'm of the belief that there almost isn't any marketing if there isn't any technology, but that hasn't always been the place or been the situation. How do you see that? How much has technology taken over what used to be manual or what used to be physical? Or
I think the technology enables first personalization, because, for example, the sending time out of going outbound campaigns you cannot handle manual way. The type of personalization going far away behind of only telling the name is not possible by very well structured data, and to pay attention to the responding of customers, which will not be possible. All these scalable issues. Scalability is so important for personalization. Without technique, no scalability. Without scalability, no individual personalization.
Yeah, and no results in the end. Okay. So in the book, we used I hijacked or borrowed. Actually, got his permission. Scott Brinker. He has this, I call it the 5M model, where he's classifying different types of marketing technologists in different roles, which I've really found useful. So it's like 2x2 matrix of like these 4. So it's, of course, there's an alliteration for it. So it's maestros, marketers, modelers, and makers. Maestros being sort of your admin types, modelers obviously working with customer insights and doing models on, for instance, AI or algorithms or whatever. The makers are the ones who are actually building the platform experiences, so your website or your app or your mobile bank or whatever. The marketers are creating all the customer-facing communication. So they're actually the marketers. They're all using technology though, but. So given these sort of 4 categories of marketing technologists, how would an ideal team look from your point of view? What would you sort of generally recommend?
At first, for our listeners who are now in the car somewhere else and do not have following the possibilities to follow it, I would recommend page number 205. If you have it in mind and you are then later back and you take the good book to your hand, you can look on page 205 and you will read it. Your question is about what is the ideal point. The first point is that you make with this model clear that there are different approaches to the customer, and that you need a combination of 4 skills. And I think that is the most important of this model, because in former times when you ask people who are not so common with marketing, they will say, yes, I need someone who is executing campaigns.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Or for example, you have another person who says, I'm in data science, I'm calculating models.
Yeah.
But they have not impact and no relationship. And in this 5M model, I think the part in the middle is the most important, because the man in the middle, marketing technologies, you called him or her, has a very intense job to combine these 4 dimensions in the best way.
Yeah.
And I think the model is quite good. The model is theory, like we have mentioned about one concrete bank or the ideal use cases, and the need for one company in which level and in which field of these 4 they should invest more, or where there are weaknesses in a company, you should examine by getting in contact with this company. And I invite everyone who has access to your book to make some thoughts about his own company, and then to transform it where I am standing there. And I think, like the title, it depends on the ends. Let's combine these 4+1 model to the best impact at our customers.
Yeah. We actually have a workshop concept that I'm sometimes doing with customers where we are, or prospects even. So where we are looking at the model, and we're having people actually map in sort of their team members, also the ones that they're sort of borrowing from other teams, because especially in Scandinavia, where organizations tend to be smaller than probably the big ones are in Germany, then you need to borrow resources from other departments. So you're in marketing, you need some insights, then you need to rely on someone from IT to whatever, do a model for you, or pull a list, or do a certain segment or whatever. So they're using more actually T profiles. We see, so some maybe, say that I would be the ideal fit in the marketer quadrant of the model. But again, without the insights, I'm going to be, answering a lot of questions that people don't have. So I really want to, maybe I need to sort of visit the model or quadrant. Even it's not what I'm hired for or supposed to do. It's not what I'm best at, but I need to be a T profile. So I'm deep on the marketing side, but I can also go across and revisit some of the other ones, because I need to cover for, or maybe relate to other people in other roles and ask them for these things. How do you see this, the T profile and this dimension of how big the organization is? Do you need more T profiles with small organizations, or
I don't like the model of the T too much, because I think there's one risk. It is when you only talking about a T, you will say it has a quite a broad and a quite deepness. And when you don't define how deep and you don't define how broad, it fits everywhere. Because everyone knows something in the broaden and something a bit more detailed. Yeah. I think
everyone's a T profile, but it's a matter of how broad they are.
Really, everyone has a T profile. So how can we use the system of and the picture of a T profile when I have a smaller organization? Everything must be a broader T.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I have not so much experience. I have not 5 people digging in this deepness. So probably I have only one who is a really, really expert in one thing, and afterwards I have to pay attention how broad I do it, because on the one hand I have a very good co-work, or when someone is ill or on holiday, I don't feel really that he or she is not there, because I can fill it in with other experts. That's quite easy.
Yeah.
Let us do like this. When you see the T going down, I would start to have always in one T down in one of these 4 dimensions of this M model.
Yeah.
And I would not start the second people on the one corner when I not have filled on every corner one expert.
Yeah,
so I
one
would
expert
say
for each
that is the first prioritization should be to have an expert of all these 4 dimensions, and then I can do the next step. And now, as I try to explain my point of view here, it is the same. It depends on the company and the size of the company and the situation where the needs are.
Obviously. Yeah, and also which roles you might be able to sort of borrow from other departments. Which of these 4 quadrants do you find harder or easier to hire or to retain than others?
Oh, I think where the business technology know-how is getting in, you can. It's harder to find, but on the other hand, you could train this better. When it is about customer behavior, attitude, and the philosophical way of how do I want to get in with my customers in connection, I think that is not so easy to learn. And when you come external, out of the external side to a company, and they don't do it well, you will not learn this in the company. So you can learn technology in the company, but you cannot learn the right culture when you are coming in a wrong culture.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So when you hire, you would be looking for someone who has that customer mindset. That's what I hear.
Yeah, and it depends for every job we are hiring at bank or anyone else should hire. Yeah. It depends on the needs and on the fitting team which is already there. So you should always pay attention that every personal decision about persons and hiring will fit and will hire up the team on new level. And one team is missing the skill A and another team is missing skill B. Otherwise, they are described with the same tasks, these 2 teams.
Yeah. And how does that reflect on the use of externals? I mean,
well, the externals are quite a good idea.
Someone with a CX expertise, can you insource a T profile or an I profile or a maestro or a marketer?
I say yes. You can internalize everything if you like, and if you have the possibilities to do so, and if you are so attractive that everyone say, "Whoa, that would be great when I can work there because they have a really great market entry or a great marketing engine or whatever it should be, or a great team or idea, the combination out of all." We are touching 2 dimensions of working with externals. The one is work together with externals for quite a time, and the second one is to hire externals to get internals. To the first point, I want to say it's the risk of brain drain is always there when you're working with external stuff together, and they can give you fast speed in some issues when you have it quite good in your hand, but you have to pay attention not to have a brain drain or you are losing your best capabilities about. For example, as culture, the culture you should not buy too, because the culture you must have in your own company. Yes. Otherwise, you will lose.
Yeah, I sometimes say that you need to be in the driving seat of your CX strategy, because really, if you are outsourcing the way that you want to talk to your customers and what you want them to experience, you need to at least be in the driving seat of it. It's fine to get inspiration, but you need to anchor that within the company, because
to anchor this within the company. About. Absolutely. I think it is the most important is in marketing and in strategy development. You should have it internal because it is so quite clear. It gives all the course and the strategy and all activities depends on these decisions made there.
Yeah. All right. So in the book, we argue that over time, actually, the need for the 4Ms, maestros, marketers, and modelers, and so on, that changes over time. So you kind of change from a team of builders more into a team of executors. How does that resonate with for instance, your experience in general, but also would be interesting to hear how it would. How's that changed in CommerzBank, for instance?
I think that is seen a bit too simple, because it's two lines and you say, reduce the one, build out the other one. It sounds like you don't need the one and you need now only the second. It is that is too simple. Out of my point of view, and I will repeat what I've mentioned before, you should have all dimensions. You should have at minimum one profile there who is steady standing there and who is very reliable. You have access on, and you can use all the power of combination of these 4 dimensions in this model. And and if there are needs shifting, probably when you have to decide on the needs which are actual in this company. For example, when a company has not done anything in analytics, for example, it is a time now to invest there for 2 years now in real deep dive data science, analytics, and so on. Or when you are offering a new channel, for example, the theater, which is using first time the app channel. You need app developer for project time, and then you would probably not need them in so an intense way afterwards. So I will not give you a general answer to this, and I repeat to it how we did it on CommerzBank. In detail, I would not mention here.
So,
we have found a good solution.
I guess you did answer it because, as you said, as soon as your app is built. I mean, once it is like being constructed, you need a lot of people working on that, and keeping the same people on board for forever, and finding other. Once the app is built, obviously, if you're a big organization, you can find other stuff for them to do. But in most cases, you probably want to use externals as sort of the marketing makers, as it's called. So. How about the shift in, because we're also distinguishing between sort of the campaigns that follow the yearly cycles, and we're talking about like automated lifecycle communication. Is there a shift? So as maturity increase, do you get more or less of the others? How is that in finance?
No, I don't think so. The building, you mean the shift from builders to executors, or if there's more automation taking part of?
Yeah. So you getting more automation, or
more automation does not for me. It's not less other work. More automation means you have more brain free for do the real things with impact, and to do daily business job is not the task of marketeers.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So more automated lifecycle communication in order to free up your headspace and do the creative stuff. Yeah. How about the ways of working? Because there's this distinction between project and process. So once you start automating things, does that mean that you become more process oriented and less project oriented, or?
I think the idea of a project is to create something new which has not been before.
Yeah.
The idea of a process is to get something reliable done, with not having to take care about anymore, because you have a rule and you know how it's working and it's quite calculable. So it is all there too. It depends on the ends too. You need both. You need projects. You will not only and process when you want to improve your process, you will get improvements.
Yeah.
But not a new creative idea probably. When you have a project which creates something new, for example, an app functionality or an event calendar for your customers where they can meet with experts or whatever. The needs are you will not solve this problem by process oriented thinking. Yeah. So, but when you have the idea without knowing how to give it to business, you are skipping process, and that's a danger anyway. So when you have a good idea out of your project, take care about the processes, how this will reliably be delivered to your customers.
Yeah, because I see quite often that once the project stops, then if you haven't anchored it into some sort of operational model, which is essentially a process, then the project dies, because there's nowhere it can sort of live on the output of it.
Absolutely.
If there's no process for maintaining it, of optimizing it, then sometimes it drifts away.
Do you see it in your practice from Agilic? I think at a big company you are well connected to many of your customers, and how's your impression there? Do companies forget to handle things after project?
I think there's a danger in, for instance, replacing one technology with the other. So there can be a danger in that being very IT driven. And then once they've done the initial implementation of the data, but they haven't established a process for who is actually going to use this and use it on a continuous basis, and have a process that is followed up with it, then often, so somehow the go live become the go live of, for instance, being able to send the first email with Agilic becomes the success factor. Whereas really that's only the beginning, because once you start sending the first email, yes, the implementation may be done, but it's like getting the car but not taking it for a drive. I mean, what's the point in getting the car ready if you're not going anywhere? And I just see, sadly, that sometimes that happens, not with our clients, obviously, but in some organizations, that's the danger of that happening. So if you're not aware of that danger, then there can be a risk of going into that. We just discussed this today. Actually, this day we had our client forum in Agilic. So we had 70 people meeting here and discussing in the rooms of FC Copenhagen, because we were using their rooms for that. Okay. So they also were playing tonight. And we had a discussion of actually this thing about the maturity levels, hack, pack, stack, and being able to describe what you're doing in order to measure it, know what works, in order to make it possible for other people to repeat what you already did, and also to make it possible to actually automate it, because that frees up your time, so you can start optimizing it, and you can basically start personalizing it. It makes more fun. Makes it more fun to personalize something that's automated, because you'll get the returns like on an indefinite amount of time in the future. All right, we're drawing towards an end here, Christian. This is maybe a bit unrelated to the above, but a question that I've been dying to ask you: how do you see generative AI affect personalization in the future?
No talk without AI, and no newsletter with AI in the headline now. For click and opening rates, it's absolutely important. But I understand absolutely, because AI and personalization is quite fitting hand in hand, because there are many chances. When we see use cases, which we see today, it's always we have one creation, and we did not do it with an agency, we did it by AI. And we did not have a manual rounder, but we have taken it with AI. And there's only one line. We are replacing and making one process faster, but the results are the same. I need one picture, I get one. I need 5 pictures, I get 5. The real relevant set of personalization concerning Gen AI would be when we will have Gen AI at scale. So when we create AI in so blast personalization way that no one can control it anymore, because before it's given to the customer. And I'm very looking forward to these questions. Do the companies want to get in contact with the customers with pictures or texts which not have been checked by anyone before in detail? And so I think probably this will be a very interesting development in the next month.
I'm comparing it to self-driving cars. I mean, we've almost had those for years now. I know I've used also this example before in the podcast, but I think some brands will be able to tolerate a small email marketing traffic accident where the text is maybe a bit funny and whatever, and they can live with that. Some will not tolerate it. I see some of the bigger brands, for instance, Lego and also Arla, which is a big dairy company here in Denmark. They're using Gen AI to do specific content, to draft it, and then they are finishing it, and they are making sure that everything is, it can tolerate the light of day and customers looking at it. So they're doing quality assurance manually, but they're producing the draft using Gen AI, and then they're actually using more AI to sort of decide, so a bit more classic AI, just do the decisioning and finding out which small content piece do I put in front of whom. So based on sort of more traditional analytics. 2 final questions. What's your own favorite example of personalization that you've created in CommerzBank? That's the first one.
Okay. I would not mention an example of CommerzBank. We have done so many things. When I'm on stage as CommerzBank, I'm presenting them. I think in Sweden will be the next possibility at the Dialog Conference there.
I will check that out.
I will be there, and I will show their things from CommerzBank. But when we are talking here about the broad range of worldwide, it is for example, an example too from Japan, like a personalized dialogue with a customer. I think they call it a future shaper. And the customer can give there any insights in, and then their needs and wishes in, and then the bank knows out of this personal contact very well what are the next touch points, not only for 1 month, for a week, for quite longer time. And because that is structured so well, it gives us a really highly reputation. And all the next contact strategy coming to the customer by outbound is a dialogue which the customer self has started at the beginning. And I think that is a very clever approach they made there.
Okay. Interesting. So then let's flip it around. What's your own favorite example of personalization that you've experienced as a customer, where you sort of felt, wow, that was unexpected and pleasant?
That was a crazy thing. And Volvo makes the cars take care about Volvo Care, I think it's named.
Yeah.
You don't buy a car, and it was so easy to make a contract there. I was looking around and typing some buttons there, and suddenly the question was coming, oh, congrats, your new car. Okay, we will deliver in 2 weeks. And I was a bit surprised because I didn't want to. It was too fast. The wait was too short. And I seconds later, I grabbed the phone and I called there. And I was welcomed from a very friendly person there. And he has already had all my data given in the system seconds before. I was identified. My situation was clear. What I need. It was easy to handle. They arranged it backwards because it was like a mistake. But the thing, there were no silos because onboarding and being a customer. I think it's a quite good close loop now for the nearly end of our discussion. Yeah. They have arranged it very well to get this in one situation because I was on one journey and the first person after buying knew everything for me before buying. That was great.
Yeah. That's a brilliant example. Thank you for sharing that. So we're drawing towards an end here. So once again, thank you for joining. I can recommend everybody to check out the book. It depends on the ants. You can go to sulona.com, SULONA.com, where we can see it. It's also available in German for those of you who might want to check that out. I was happy with the English version, though I do understand a bit of German. So thinking about this authorship, we maybe didn't plan for this, but I was just thinking there should probably be some parallels, with the 5M models and with the insights in your book. Probably that there are some parallels there. Which chapter should I check out in It Depends on the Ants, or so where's sort of the pendant to that?
I think it's concerning to the M4 model. It is about finding the right people. It's in the middle part, the part number 3 of the book. Find the right people and the people with the right attitude to combine them. Because everyone, when you want to do a project, something very simple, you take the next person's available. Yeah. When you do it with real impact, you take the visionary people on the one side and the process orientated on the other side, and you put them together in the project. It's quite more complicated to steer and to lead, but the results are much better. And there, for example, probably in my book, I give hints how to hire the people to do it with the 5M, what you described in your book.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I think I have to reread that actually in your book. So I'll be revisiting that. I may come back to you with questions. Let's flip it around. The biggest mistakes that companies can do just to, if you want to make absolutely sure that you fail with the personalization project, what should you then do?
Start without having a goal.
Yeah, good one. Yeah,
because it's always many activities in companies. Everyone is quite busy. Yeah. And when you say, now let's say clearly on the point, what is your goal? What is your course? Where do you want to reach?
Yeah.
When you are traveling with a sailing boat and you're leaving the harbor, you know where you want to land on.
Yeah.
Take a course and have an idea what you want to reach.
Good one. Let's maybe leave that as the ending note. Christian, it was such a big pleasure discussing this with you. I think it was
a pleasure for me too. Thanks
very
a lot,
interesting conversation. Yes, and to the listeners or the viewers, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would just say thank you very much for joining this week's episode. You can of course download all the different models that we've been talking about, the illustrations. You can download those. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. You can also download an abstract of the book for free, or you can, and remember to subscribe to this podcast so you don't only hear this episode, but you hear actually also all the audiobook chapters and so on. Everything will be linked in the show notes. Again, thank you for joining, Christian, and I hope to see you again soon.
Great. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening in on this episode of Hello FirstName. Remember that all models and even a written abstract of the book are available for download. You'll find the link in the show notes. In our next episode, which is a classical audiobook chapter, we'll be listening to Chapter 20, Marketing Technology. Our claim is that all marketing today is driven by technology. No tech, no marketing. No marketing, no personalization. But how should your management of MarTech change as the maturity of your organization evolves? That's what this chapter is about.